Hello, we are here today with Sarah Profitt, who is going to tell us about her self-marriage. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Yeah, and you married yourself recently in February of 2021. What inspired you to do it?
me. I was inspired because I felt that, what really inspired it was I was trying to set all these intentions, and I've been in personal development for a really long time. And every time I'd set an intention, I'd get about halfway to getting there, and I would feel this like essence of sabotage come up as if I wasn't actually committed to myself. And then in turn with that is me not being committed to myself. I realized that there was a lot of other people that wanted to commit to me and they couldn't because I wasn't committed. And so that's what really inspired me, was just to fully commit to this new version of myself that I had been developing for the past decade,
Mm.
and still kind of felt that um lack of commitment, like you live in boyfriend and you guys throw around the idea of marriage, but 10 years later you're still in the same position. That's how it felt to me. Like I was my own live-in boyfriend that didn't want to commit.
It's so funny. A lot of times when people hear self-marriage, they think, well, if you marry yourself, you can't marry someone else. And I always hold that marrying yourself is a great first step towards being available for a healthy relationship. It sounds like you're of the same opinion. Can you say more
Absolutely.
about how committing to yourself first makes other people's commitment to you accessible?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, say more, tell us more about that.
So when I committed to myself, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this self-marriage. I'm gonna commit to marrying myself. I'm gonna commit to not just marrying myself and have it be this, for me, it was a ceremony and a ritual, but what was gonna come out, what was I committing to? And my vows were really about like this higher version of myself and fully saying, I'm not gonna give up on you again. I'm gonna cry. But because that's how powerful, I just felt like I was constantly giving up on myself. And what happened is I committed to myself and I felt the experience in my body. And just 2 weeks later, my boyfriend asked me to marry him. And it was really unexpected. Although we had talked about it, it wasn't a rushed thing. We had been together for 3 years and we were just, when it happens, it happens. And um, he had already been planning it and I didn't know. And then when I committed, I think unconsciously he felt like I was ready to make the commitment in the partnership.
Mm.
Because to be honest, I wasn't committed in the partnership either. Like it was always every single thing that I had done in my life were these like half commitments. And I wondered why my dreams and intentions and the love that I wanted, not only for myself, but within others, wasn't happening. And I had to do that for myself, was like commit to me,
Mm.
honestly, for the first time in my life.
What does it mean that you kept giving up on yourself?
Mm. So for me, I like to use the word like wavering, is that I would commit to, we'll just bring it in so that everybody can kind of like, relate. It's like a workout program. I'd be like, I'm going to do this workout program. I'm all into it. I had accountability and support, a coach, like nutrition plan. I had the whole deal. And like 4 days in, I would just be like, I don't need to do this. And I'm like, every time you do that, you're taking your self-trust and you're breaking it
Mm.
every time. And I would feel the break in my body, that I would commit to something and not follow through. And then I would feel that self-trust. And for me, just being like I'm a spiritual person, I felt the lack of commitment in my spirituality and in this trust and in my intuition. And so everything behind this non-commitment was falling away because I just wasn't fully committing to this, to me, to doing the things that felt good in my body, to doing the things. And with regular marriage, right, we always talk about marriage is hard. Like it's a commitment. It's not something that you're going to be in love and just feeling all like beautiful and everything all the time. There's going to be really hard times. And I noticed that when there was hard times for me internally, I just would kind of give up. And it wasn't like an outward, like I didn't want to do life anymore. It just was, well, I'll just save this for later.
Mm.
But later never came.
It sounds like there was a pattern of not being all in with yourself and your goals and your self-care. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and that did the self-marriage end that pattern or did it improve it?
Yes.
What? Yeah, it did.
Absolutely. And in the funny thing is like, I bought a ring, right? And so every time I put the ring on and I wear it, I look down and I'm like, that's it. You made the commitment. Like
Mm,
you committed. And it's like, it doesn't have to be a ring, right? It could just be whatever. But for me, it was the symbolism of like, you committed to you. And you have to do it every single day you wake up. And that's what was that missing key was I thought I could just like commit to whatever it was and then it would just happen.
mm.
But what you don't realize is like, no, every day you got to recommit. You have to recommit to this relationship and to all of the things, the self-care, the goals, the intentions. You have to recommit every day as if it has not happened. And that's the self-marriage is what changed that for me.
Is it that you see your ring every day and that reminds you to recommit, or what is the reminder for you of recommitting on a daily basis?
At first, it was the ring, and I love when I talk with people about like commitment or whatever. I'm always like, get a physical representation of what it is. You
Mhm.
don't always have to have that, but to start out, it's like your accountability. It's kind of like your calendar or your journal or whatever it is. It's like your piece of accountability, and that's what the ring symbolized for me was my commitment to myself and the recommitment of the accountability
Mhm.
that would need to happen every day.
Yes. And do you have your ring on? Are you wearing it?
Yeah, I am.
Let's see it. Give us that ring.
It's so
Oh, look
beautiful.
at it. What is it? What sort of
And
stone?
it's a moonstone,
Hmm.
a rainbow moonstone. And when I bought it, I actually didn't know the symbolism behind rainbow moonstones. And if you look it up, it's literally about commitment and like rebirth. And it was like it was one of those moments where I was like, mm-hmm, okay, of course.
Of course. Uh, so your self-marriage, one thing I love about this whole ritual is that people can do it so many different ways. You can do it with
Mhm.
a big guest list, you can do it with a small guest list, or you, for instance, did it by yourself. So tell
Yeah.
us about the planning process and what it was like to have this experience with you, yourself, and you. What was that like?
So for me, I'm a practicing witch. So a lot of my ceremonies and rituals are based in kind of witchcraft and practicing those practices. And so they're oftentimes very individual. And in my practices, I don't often share like these rituals that I do on a daily basis or whatever. Sometimes I'll do ceremony with groups, but with this one in particular, I was like, I have to commit. And I started to look up, like, how do you fully commit to yourself? Like, what does that even mean or look like? And I came across self marriage and I was like, what? And I didn't even know until we talked that it could be a thing where you could invite people. I didn't even know that. I thought it was just something you did for you. And so leading up to it, I, wrote my vows to myself. For me, it was really important to do it while on my period and to save that blood and to have that as part of the ritual that I could offer to the earth because my connection to the earth is also this commitment because we are in nature every day. So if while the ring is yes a reminder, nature for me is also this beautiful reminder of our commitment to ourselves. And so I just embodied that and began to write my vows and sit down and create a space. I made a flower altar for myself and just that's kind of how it all evolved. And it was just this beautiful experience. And I meditated and visualized myself in front of me
Mm,
um, as not something as like a higher self, but as the person that I actually was, a reflection in the mirror, if you will. And when I did this ceremony, the reflection was this powerful, beautiful woman that I had really never seen before. And I realized like had always been there.
Mm.
Every day I look in the mirror, she was there, and I had forgot to acknowledge her. And that's what that self-marriage really did for me, was the acknowledgement of all the things I had done together with me.
Yes. Did you, you did write vows. Would you be willing to share your vows with us?
um, I don't I don't have them like in the moment.
That's okay. Would you be willing
Um,
to talk about maybe some of the more important commitments that you made to yourself that day, if you remember them?
yeah. So the biggest thing was the not giving up.
Mm.
And that's like, that is what I think is the biggest thing for the biggest piece, and which really, like, I know that it means something to me, because every time I talk about it I want to cry.
Mm.
It was, I will never give up on you again. And that was the biggest, I think the biggest piece for me in those vows. Is there was a lot of, like, I'll take care of you, and we're going to do this together, we're on this journey, but the biggest piece was, I won't give up on you again.
Mm.
I won't stop believing in you, and I won't, there will be no, this isn't going to happen. So whatever it is of my intention, whatever it is that I am evolving into, the evolution will be the journey with myself. And I won't give up. I won't give up on whatever it is that you're dreaming. I will never give up on it again.
Mm.
And just every time I get like chills, like that is like, so I know that if someone were to hear that, they could like take that and be like, oh my God, I've been giving up on myself.
Hmm. Yeah. So give us an example now of how it is to be in relationship with you, a way that you haven't given up on yourself and you've made something new and beautiful happen.
Well, turning back around to like the workout program, I I committed to like doing this program, and it wasn't like to get in shape or anything. It was to say like, you're going to say you're going to do something, and you're going to follow through to build trust within yourself.
Mm.
That's the biggest piece that I've been able to do, is take these small things and continue to do them and show up for myself every single day. And comes in a workout, but also comes within meditation, and it comes with my spiritual practices. It comes with having patience with myself. That was the
Yeah.
biggest piece of like, lack of patience. And if I don't have patience for me, everybody around me is feeling that also, that I don't have patience for them. And
Mm.
so I've noticed this reflection that people are respecting my boundaries more. Like, they're trusting me more. They're all of the things that I'm doing for me, and I had to lead myself through first. I'm noticing now this reflection. And I own a business, and my business has like exploded basically over the past. It's interesting now that I think about it, because I think it's been since my self-marriage.
Hmm.
And so that is like that's one of the biggest pieces. Is oftentimes we feel these like internal commitments to ourselves, but we never see the external. Not that we need validation, but it's sometimes cool.
Yeah.
And so I've seen this internal commitment, and I've seen the external validation within my business and relationships, and just love in general. And
Mm.
it's been a learning process though.
Yeah. Specifically, I'm curious if your self-marriage has influenced or impacted your marriage to your husband in any way.
Yeah.
How
I
so?
So with so my husband and I, we got married and in April, and we we wanted to have this small intimate wedding, which is so funny because that's what I did. And then when we did our wedding, it was literally just us and my daughter. That's it.
Hmm.
There's nobody there. And it was, for me, it's this beautiful essence of our love not needing any sort of external celebration or validation for us, because we know how powerful it is to be together. And it's funny because I don't really share anything about my husband or relationship or marriage, kind of on social media or anything like that. Like, it's so personal for me. And I
Mm.
have found that our growth has been exponential because we're not sharing it with the world. We're not like out and uh, kind of, um, how do I want to say this? We're not like outwardly pushing our love towards other people because it's an internal evolution. And not only is her marriage like absolutely wonderful, but my husband has made commitments to himself and he's following through and he's doing the things that he said he wanted to do in this like quantum leaps, the time that we thought it would take for us to do the things we wanted to do. Um, we were living in a house that didn't have heat, that was like, it was like from the 1800s. So it just was like this really old house. Like it just, everything was breaking. It was not great. And we made a commitment around the time of my self-marriage. I'm like, now I'm putting these pieces
Putting
together.
them together, yeah.
So I made the commitment to get self-married. I didn't actually do it until we moved into this house, but this house is like brand new. It like just fell on our laps. Like it was exactly what we wanted, exactly what we needed. And we didn't think we were going to be able to get something like this until years down the road. And just everything has fallen into place as we've made our own individual commitments and then our commitment to each other. We came as two whole people into our marriage instead of looking for the other to fulfill something. And I think that has been one of the biggest pieces of my self-marriage, is coming into a marriage whole rather than looking for someone else to fulfill something in the relationship.
Yes, beautiful. I don't know how public you've been about your self-marriage. I know I found you through hashtags on Instagram. Like I find all of my people. Have you faced any critics that think it's weird or odd?
No, I haven't. And so like I saw that question, I was like, I actually haven't.
Mhm.
And it's so funny, everybody I share it with, they're like, oh wow, you can do that. And I share kind of like what can happen. And I've had two clients so far that also have committed to themselves and
Mm.
also have had this like ceremony and marriage within themselves. And that's so beautiful, the ripple effect that we can have when we commit to ourselves, that
Yes.
we can see the people in our own circles begin to commit to them. And then we start to see what effects that has on their external life because their internal is fully committed.
It's it's easy to forget when you see photos from a self-marriage that so much of it is just representative. They're just steps that we take. The dress that we choose, the ring that we choose, they're just steps that we take to encourage an internal shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that internal shift is huge. It is such a powerful force, a magnetic force for the things that we want. And I don't often talk about that piece of the self marriage in depth, but I love that you're bringing it up here because I mean, the human brain is wired for spirituality, just the way that we are evolutionarily. And when we can nurture ourselves and our spirit and our self, which is inherently a spiritual act, in my opinion, we really can create massive shifts all around us. And so I love that on this interview, you're like, oh my gosh, self marriage, and then boom, 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 boom. So good.
Yeah, it's just funny seeing this, like, I'm like, oh, because I don't really talk about this like in this way.
Yeah.
And so to see this, like, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, wait.
Pause.
The commitment I made to myself actually did begin to get the momentum rolling to all the external commitments that are now coming in. Interesting.
Yes. Oh, so good. So what would you say to others that are considering self-marriage?
Do it.
Period. Drop the mic.
No, but I think really, I think one of the most important pieces was doing the self-marriage was, yes, beautiful, and the ceremony and the ritual and all of the things, but like I said, is with regular marriage, it's hard to continue to wake up every single day and commit, especially when you have failed to do that for the majority of your life. And so for me, making that commitment and then every day saying to myself, hey, we committed, do you remember? And just like reminding myself, you committed to the best version of you. And every day that you wake up, you've got to recommit. And so to be able to go through this process of self-marriage, it allows you to say, hey, I made that commitment, do you remember? And it's just this like easy way for you to come back to you. And that is the biggest piece, is coming back to you every day, coming back home. I always tell people, you want your body and your soul and your mind to feel like home to you. And when we're so self-critical, and when we don't trust ourselves, and when we don't follow through with the things, and our word, it feels like lies coming out of our mouth, because we say we're going to do something and we don't do it. It just builds this like inner jail that we kind of put ourselves into. And I felt when I did this marriage that it allowed me to open up to freedom
Mm,
and commitment, and to a place that I can call home now, which I don't know if that I truly had that before.
yeah, gorgeous. Thank you so much for talking about this with us, Sarah. It's such a pleasure to get all the details.
Yay, you're so welcome. Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful thing to share. Like, I didn't even know how powerful it was to share. Because I just wrote like a little post about it on Instagram, like, hey, I did this thing and it was kind of cool. And people reached out afterwards, and clients send me pictures of their rings, like, hey, I got this really cool ring, and I'm committing. And it just is this beautiful experience to see others. And now, like, you're writing a book and you get to interview all these people, like, it blows my mind of what is possible in this world. And I'm more curious now to look at like the evolution of self-marriage, because I know it isn't something new.
Mhm.
And it's interesting for me to go and like look and go and see, like, how did this actually start? Like, where did people start doing this, and why did they start doing this? And
Yeah.
and I love learning about history and the history of like rituals and ceremonies. So it has definitely sparked my curiosity in all of this.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again. And from your mouth to all of our amazing listeners, you heard what Sarah said. Do it.
Do it.